Welcome back to Spearfishing Vanuatu, where we will continue our exploration into the functional abilities of a reel gun. In this episode we talk targeting wahoo and also take an amazing and beautiful sailfish on the reel. Here in Vanuatu we are blessed with a massive amount of naturally beautiful environments to explore, with so many islands close to Awhate Island Port Vila that then continue in numbers out to the north. You get the feeling that no matter how much you were to dive, you would never really even scratch the surface of what is actually available. Wahoo can be plentiful here in Vanuatu given the right water temperatures. However, despite their large numbers, they for the most part are smaller fish under 30 kilos, which can be functionally targeted on a reel gun. Despite the possibility of being able to take a wahoo over 30 kilos with a reel, honestly it isn't wise. Targeting bigger wahoos such as the fish that frequent Norfolk Island's waters is much better done with a full blue water setup that includes a slip tip to breakaway and accompanying bungee and floats. These systems are purpose built to create a safer, more reliable and efficient way to ethically target large, fast and powerful fish. Choosing to use a full blue water bungee float line when targeting pelagics that tend to run predominantly on the surface also aids the diver, creating less work, tiring the fish faster, while reducing the chance of losing the fish due to the ripping of your shaft or slip tip. Although there are many different styles of double flopper shafts available that can increase the holding ability of your shaft, slip tip setups will always outshine flopper shafts in their holding ability, creating a more forgiving situation should your shot placement not land in the exact point of your intention. This then translating into more big powerful fish being landed and less heartbreak. Here in Vanuatu I have found that despite the abundance of fish life, the fish are for the most part more cagey, and the wahoo especially, when compared to Norfolk's fish, will stay away more often than not due to unnatural looking body language or gear, such as float lines. This then makes them more easily targeted on a reel gun, which for me has always created a much higher rate of close encounters with these smaller, more timid fish. On this afternoon, after a full day targeting dogtooth with the blue water gear, on our way home we come across a Fiji style fad free floating. Quickly jumping in with the reel gun, a wahoo approaches my position as I float motionless in a horizontal position. Taking a quick shot with my small accurate single roller gun has me able to retrieve the fish before the always keen silky whalers get a chance to challenge me for what was then an easy meal. During days dedicated to targeting dogtooth with the blue water gear, I will purposefully ignore most every other encounter with species other than dogtooth, as taking another fish in many of the deep blue water drop-off locations can be counterproductive to your chances of cleanly taking a dogtooth without overwhelming shark pressure. That is, of course, with the exception of a close encounter with a wahoo. In that situation, I am always happy to take such an opportunity, especially with a blue water setup in hand. When diving blue water in search of wahoo here in Vanuatu, I always use the reel gun, making sure that I have in tow a high-vis float attached to my flasher line, at the same time as a dedicated boatie, keeping a watchful eye over my buddy and I at a close distance that is close enough to always be ready for a quick assist in bringing a high-pressure float or as a safety assist if needed. When using a reel gun to target wahoo with a single flopper shaft, shot placement is of the highest importance. A mid-body holding shot, being a shot that is landed between the anal and dorsal fins of the fish as close to the lateral line as possible, will always give you the greatest chance of landing a fish on such a setup. Double flopper shafts are an added level of security should they be available. When making any kind of dedicated reel gun hunt, you need to be using reels that you can count upon. I have used many reels from many different companies over the years, some simple and others very complex in their engineered parts. Through this process, there has been only one make of reel that I have found that stands up to the test of time and that can withstand the punishment of targeting fast and powerful fish such as wahoo, dogtooth and other the pelagics. Those reels are made by Aussie Reels. They have for many years produced and perfected a reel that is simple and robust, with a drag system that works and keeps on working. When diving in tide, in deep water, or when targeting powerful fish on a reel gun, you have to have a belt reel backing you up, as even in shallow water you can have circumstances change and run quickly against you should the reel on your gun tangle or fail in any way. In any situation, it is reassuring to have a reliable belt reel always at the ready to back you up as an extra measure of safety for the diver, and to make sure that should you for any reason have to let go of your reel gun, you can do so quickly before finalizing your ascent and then working the fish, be it still running or caved up. Your belt reel should be constantly checked and maintained during your dive day, carefully re-spooling after taking a fish, as well as checking the lay of the line between your dives. If this becomes a regular part of your breathe up process on the surface, it will ensure that at the moment when you need it most, your belt reel will give you a free, unhindered ascent. Diving with a reel gun should always require a very sharp dive knife at the ready. Diving with 2 sharp knives, one for the main work and one easily accessible sharp knife in case of entanglement or emergency to be able to cut the line quickly, adds yet another level of safety to your diving and hunting around the reefs and out into the blue water. Whether diving with the reel gun or blue water setup, there will always be the variable circumstance that is shark pressure. When taking any fish that hasn't been fully incapacitated by the shot, sharks will be attracted to the vibrations of a struggling fish. Sharks should always be respected. They are faster and more adapt to the ocean environment, and they have flourished for millennia regardless of environmental pressures. Watching sharks is both important and, for me, deeply interesting. They are extremely efficient in their movements and will only expend the minimum amount of energy in any given circumstance that holds the greatest opportunity for a positive energetic return. They have a hierarchical structure where the largest will dominate over the smaller structured sharks in any feeding situation. In the water, a diver is only another body of any given size that will be observed by sharks totally by size, body language, and by how dominant that body language is received. Making a push to win the fish you spear is necessary in every healthy environment that contains numbers of sharks. As in most environments, letting the sharks win any speared fish will increase their energetic push towards every fish speared after that point. Despite a diver's ability to display dominant behavior when winning a speared fish from the sharks, there is a point when that form of body language will become of no use. Sharks are the true apex hunter and should be treated as such. Paying attention to the level of their energetic push and knowing when it is time to move on to another location or another target species is important. Although there are some divers who will kill or injure sharks in an area that they wish to keep spearing in, I personally do not believe in these practices. I have a deep respect and love for sharks. I leave them unharmed while they also leave me to my own devices. From tigers to whites and onto all the other reef species and whalers, for me, attention and unbroken eye contact has always been enough to establish a defined boundary. Only on a rare occasion do I ever even poke a shark with a spear to reinforce that boundary. Natural fish-like body language and movements bring fish in, and when really needed, unnatural action and body language can keep sharks away for a little bit longer, affording you the ability to possibly win a fish. Here you see the final fish taken after a full day targeting wahoo. Feeling good about a perfect mid-body shot. The beginning of this scenario starts off well, until the silver fringe whalers begin to step up their game. Under intense pressure, the fleeing wahoo tries to use my body as a cover from the now very switched on sharks. I choose to slow down my retrieval at the point of reaching the shot line. Despite the Wahoo schools still making repeated passes on the flasher, the silver fringe whalers had at this point stepped up their push toward the speared Wahoo. After winning multiple fish over a 6-hour period, the sharks at this point had decided enough is enough. Now claiming back their zone, it was time to make a move to a new area to target a mixed bag of species to finish the day. Another species that can be functionally taken on a reel gun with the right preparation and patience in waiting for the right shot opportunity are sailfish, as despite their high speed run and lasting power, they will, after being speared, usually run mostly on the surface. After countless encounters with sailfish over some years of diving Vanuatu's waters, I had decided that during the next encounter, even be it with a reel gun in hand, I would try and gain the interest of the fish, hoping for a close encounter with the right shot presentation before taking a measured shot. It was then on the very next trip when a big sailfish made a pass on me. I decided to dive again, hanging at 15 meters next to the flasher for as long as I could. This worked and the big sail returned with a more aggressive pass. He gave me a perfect broadside opportunity, aiming at the top of his shoulder above the lateral line, as I felt this would be the area of best penetration and holding ability when using a small single roller reel gun. Clipping my belt reel as I surfaced, before immediately swimming as fast as I could in the direction of the fish's run. It was at this early point of the tow when my heart sank as I watched the reel line change angle. Worried that the fish would sound, I raised my head to call for a float. Right before my dedicated boatie threw a float in my direction, already knowing well the drill after backing me up on speared dogtooth many times in the past. Having intuitive, quick-thinking people that you know backing you up is so vital. Now working the float while continuing to swim forward with an urgency that stemmed from a need to get a second shot into the fish before the sharks awakened to its struggle, all that was left to do was to put in the work. Finally seeing colour as I win back the last of the reel line. My dedicated boatie again backs me up by throwing me a second gun. Still being pulled through the water as I hold position on the fish and simultaneously loading the gun took most of what I had left. Before I gave myself some seconds to take a few deep, calm breaths, knowing that I had to make a headshot that would count, as this was my last gun on board for this day's planned reef hunt. Taking a last breath before pulling myself down the reel line, whilst also kicking to be able to reduce the drag created by my body, was at this point a big ask. Feeling my full body crying out as oxygen-starved muscles and my cardiovascular system ached to breathe. I relax into the sensations, feeling again the importance of making a solid headshot. The shot was good. Despite not stoning the fish, it causes further blood loss and gives me a solid point of control to be able to take hold of the fish. Another quick breath on the surface, and again I dive. Watching this big and beautiful fish in these last seconds brought a flood of emotion. That ended with pure elation after finishing the fish's struggle with a knife. This being the ending of an intense sequence of events, now allowing me to take a deep breath before letting it back out with some heavy stoke. Woo! If you like our content here, please help us to grow by liking and commenting, and subscribe to receive notifications for when our next episode goes live. Thank you.